Welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, the show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs use human design to shift from hustle to flow without sacrificing results. Come here to become an unshakable human and build an unshakable business according to your human design. I'm your host, Nicole. Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, everybody. I'm your host, Nicole, and we're here today together for another episode. This kind of came to me from the last episode that we recorded. So the previous episode, I talked about where are you giving your power away? And I talked about how I encountered a post in a Facebook group where someone was saying that they couldn't do something because of their human design. Because I'm a manifesting generator, I can't X, right? If you want to listen to that episode, it's a short one. You can go back and listen to that one. And that got me thinking. And this is just how things work. I get into a response with something and then that spurs an idea. I start thinking about it and then the train of thought goes off in that direction and different things unfold. So what really started to come to the surface for me was that most types, it's not that they can or they can't do anything. It's nothing that your chart says you cannot do this. And like I said in the last episode, I have people that come to me, well, I can't have a group program because I don't have X in my chart. Now, it's true that you might not enjoy a group program because you don't have X in your chart, but it does not mean that you cannot do it. And in the last episode, it's really about tapping into your authority is what I was driving you home toward. But there is validity to say what will make a manifesting generator happy is probably different than what might make a projector happy, and vice versa. And all of the types are that way. And really where that comes from is that each type kind of gravitates toward a certain theme. Each type, their soul is calling out for a particular thing. It's always looking for it. It wants a certain type of life. Now that's going to look different. Every manifestor is going to have a different way of creating that in their world. And also, if they don't find it, or if they give their power away to the outside world, to the job, to obligation, to whatever the path may have been that got them there, but if they give their power away to it and they don't align with and go after this deep desire that they have, what their soul is calling out for, they end up in what we call the not self theme. They end up in misalignment of their type. And that's how it's happened. Now, of course, we know that generators are here to do, projectors are here to guide. There is that theme, but the motivation underneath it, and it's different than human design motivation. There's a separate episode on that where we talk about what that really means. That's underneath it all. But no, there's a motivation to each type. Now, you wouldn't see this in a textbook. This is my own reflection on this. So this isn't something that if you haven't heard it someplace, these are my reflections on it. So just want to preface it with that. But each type has a deep desire. Each type is looking for a particular theme in order to be happy, in order to feel aligned for them, in order to feel like life works for them. And without it, they end up feeling the not self theme, which is the misalignment theme for each type. Each type gets one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the deep desire themes for each of the 5 human design types. I want to share this with you because whatever type you are, you listen to the theme that I bring up and see how it resonates for you. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll be like, nope, that's me and I don't feel that. Or maybe you're unhappy and you can say, I do see how that is missing, or I see how I may have abandoned myself by not pursuing that or not feeling worthy of going after that. Or maybe, yes, that's exactly why I'm happy, because I started to, or I always have gone after this thing. This was my deepest value. That's really what we're talking about. So a lot of branding exercises and stuff like that will have you go through and write out your top 5 values and then write out the top 5 values of your ideal client and see where you match up. Lots of very cliche branding work. And I'm not saying that it's not valuable, but we've heard it a lot. There are values to each of these types. That's what we're doing here. So it'd be interesting, and I would love it if you send me a message on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Official. Just send me a DM and let me know what you thought of this. I'm interested if this resonated for you. So let's dive into this. I want to go into each of the 5 types, and I'm going to tell you what their deep desire or their core value is, and then we'll expand on it a little bit, okay? So we're going to start off with our manifestors. Manifestors have this core value, this deep desire, this yearning for freedom. That is at the core of everything that a manifestor is seeking. Of course, they want results. They want their vision, but ultimately they want to do it their way. They want their way. They want to be left alone. If you don't want to help, get out of the way. Freedom is at the core of that. So if you're a manifestor and you're giving away your freedom, or you're telling yourself you can't have it, or someone told you that it's not right for you to want so much freedom, that's probably going to push you into anger. That's probably going to make you feel like life doesn't work for you. And there are a lot of manifestors who feel that way, who feel a little lost. And this happens. I see a lot of people who are manifestors who are in a job where they feel a little boxed in, or they feel that their energy isn't being used correctly. And one question that you can ask yourself is, how can I create more freedom here? How can I create more freedom for my vision? How can I create more freedom for my energy? How can I create more freedom for my time? All of those questions will start to free up and loosen up your energy to get you thinking in a different way, to get you noticing different things and seeing how you might be able to shift things rather than doing what most manifestors do, which is blow it all up. Next, move on to the next thing. I can't be here, so I've got to burn the bridge. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I don't mean that everybody does that, but they do tend to end things and end them pretty finally, where it's like, now I'm never going back to anything like that ever again. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater all the time. You might be able to salvage more than you believe can be salvaged if you maybe looked at it through that window. So the next type, deepest core value of a projector, is service. Now, I don't want to confuse service with work. It does not mean that they have to serve or they're in servitude. But at the core, projectors want to be useful, and it can get confused with, I should do a lot. I have to show up. I have to do everything for everybody, but that's not really what should guide them. What should guide them is, am I being of service here or not? Regardless of how much work I'm doing. Am I being of service to the project? Am I being of service to the group? Am I being of service to this person? Am I being of service to the family? It does not mean, am I serving and giving all of my energy away? But serving can be such a subjective word, but you serve best when you're not lending your energy. You can serve by guiding. You can serve by a thought, an insight. You can serve just by your presence. There's a very big difference between serving and doing, and it gets confused. And when you get confused, then you get bitter. And when you don't feel like you're being of service, it's because you don't feel like you are being recognized. You're not able to serve, so you become bitter. And that's where you get to say, how can I be of service? And sometimes service is just waiting. Sometimes it's just being there and not butting your nose into everything that's not always needed or appreciated. But are you being of service just by being available? What about that? Can you wrap your head around that? How even just you being there, even them just paying you for the ability to call you in when they need you. Service. How freeing is that? I want someone to pay me for that. Unfortunately, I'm a doer. I don't get paid for all of that stuff. But projectors, can you open yourself up to that possibility? Can you look at it through that lens? Okay. Third type, reflectors. Deepest desire, deepest value of a reflector is harmony. They just want everyone to work it out. They want everybody to be happy. They want their community to flourish. They want to feel like everything is expanding. Why? Because it feels really bad to them when it's not like that. They feel sick. They feel ill. They feel crummy. They feel sad. They feel angry. when they're around people who are like that, who are feeling that. They take it all in and they reflect it, they become it. So their deepest desire is, can we all just get along? Can't we all just be on this growth path of expanding and feeling good and not doing this energetically to each other? When we hear how we're all connected, you hear how the collective is connected. We hear how we are all one. We are all parts of a whole. And that malice and violence toward another is malice and violence toward all. Nobody understands that more than a reflector, because they actually feel that. Those are words to a lot of the rest of us, but to a reflector, that's reality. They're like, no, I feel that. When these people as a group are all upset and angry, I feel that. So a reflector, you're in search of harmony, and you either create it or you move to a new place where you find it. And that is what the life of a reflector is about. That is what the deepest desire of a reflector is about. And if you find that you are not in harmony, yours is going to be a lot more about noticing you. Do I feel like I'm harmonious in my energy? Does my energy feel light or does it feel heavy? It's telling you something about the people you're around, the place that you are. And you either have the ability to tell people and change it, or you change the people that you are around, either asking some to leave or leaving yourself. It really depends on your situation, but it's harmony that's driving the reflector. Where can I find it? How can I create it? How can we sustain it? That's the reflector's desire. That's their value. Because all is right in the reflector's world when there is harmony, and nothing feels quite right when there isn't. Generators. Greatest desire of a generator, the greatest value is fulfillment. It's the job well done, fulfilled. That feeling like I want to create a job out of my passion. That's very generator-y. And it doesn't necessarily mean the generators, I don't want to say that they don't want freedom. That's just not what drives a generator first and foremost. What drives a generator first and foremost is work that feels fulfilling, satisfying, good to them. That fulfillment of saying, I'm doing the things that I'm meant to do. That is ultimately what's underneath the surface. Whatever decisions are being made or how they appear to be being made, underneath what they are making the decision with is, will this fulfill me or not? And if they're not fulfilled, then they end up frustrated. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That feeling, that is what causes frustration in the generator's world. And when they are fulfilled, they will work happily for someone else if the work is worth doing. They are the greatest team players to have. If you have a team, you want generators on it. And manifesting generators can be wonderful, but you really want generators, because generators are open and very, very team-oriented, very collaborative energy-wise. And they get the job done as long as they feel fulfilled. So if you have generators on your team, the question you want to be asking them is, do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like this job is fulfilling you? Because if it's not, that's when you won't get much out of the generator. They're not going to produce for you. And then they're going to want to leave. You're not going to be able to retain them. Because ultimately, that's what they're going to be driven by. Or they're going to be miserable. So they might not leave. They might be complacent. They might feel stuck in a job. Or they might be stuck in an offer. Or they might be stuck in a career. They might feel that way. They aren't actually stuck. We all have the power to move and change and shift. But it will be the fulfillment that is causing them to either feel stuck and not move and be angry about it, be frustrated about it. They don't really get angry necessarily. They're more frustrated, like, grr. And it's the fulfillment that will drive them to something else. If they see something could be more fulfilling, that's the path for the generator typically. Lastly, manifesting generators. The deepest desire of a manifesting generator, remember, There's a bit manifestor in there. They're generators with a dash of manifestor. And depending on the chart, some people are more manifestory than generator, but we are generators first and foremost. I am a manifesting generator. And we want fulfillment, but we also want the freedom. There is this drive for freedom, but it's not to the same level of the manifestor. Manifesting generators, we will gladly do the work. And we will do the thing that's harder if it feels fulfilling. And if it gives us kind of the other caveat to the deepest desire of manifesting generators, most manifesting generators that I meet want to shine. There's a fulfillment, but it's like, I want what I do to be an expression of me. Manifestors have that too, but the top is that freedom. And for Manny Gens, we will give up a little bit of the freedom if we get to shine, if we're doing the good work, if we are truly fulfilled. We will take less freedom for the other two first. But it's great if we can get all three, isn't it? So Manny Gens, we're a bit more complex because we have these different pieces in us. It's also why we were more multi-passionate. Our energy gets spread a little bit more haphazardly when we're not really grounded in our strategy and authority. But ultimately, underneath what our energy wants, it wants to feel fulfilled, wants to feel like we're doing the good work, wants to feel like we're putting something great out there. For us, that fulfillment will a lot of times come from being fully expressed as ourselves. I want to feel fully expressed. And then I want the freedom that comes along with that. I want the freedom because I think there's that feeling that once I'm fully expressed, then the freedom will come. But ultimately, those other two sit higher up. It is the fulfillment. It is that shine and being fully expressed. This hopefully gets you to be able to bust some of those absolutes. I can't do this. I have to do this because all of that stuff. The human design system is built on the idea if you follow your human design, you become your own authority, that you and you alone make decisions in your life. None of the outside world comes into play other than you're responding to things, you're being invited to things, and then you, from inside you or from your unique brand of wisdom, depending on what your authority is, you make that decision. And I hope you see how some of these things can show why your authority might say yes to certain things and no to others. So a manifestor who gets offered a really rigid job, maybe they make a lot of money. Maybe it's paying a ton of money, but there's a big commute and there's not a lot of autonomy. They're going to have to work with a team. They're going to have to go into an office every single day. They will be there all day. They have to sit with the team. There's the structure of the job, but it pays a ton of money. That manifestor truly making a decision from their authority most likely will turn that down because freedom is driving it. Same pay or less pay at a job where they're doing the same work, but they get to do it from home a couple of days. They get to show up on Zoom versus having to go into the office. They have a lot of autonomy. They have a lot of creative control. They say yes to that job, potentially. There's no absolutes. There are none. It is just about your authority, but ultimately what drives your authority is going to be these values and the deep desires of your soul based on your type. Okay? I hope that this helped. I hope that this gave you a new perspective on why we make decisions and maybe why your authority is leading you in particular directions. And I'd love to know if this resonated with you. So like I said, send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Official. Let me know if this resonated for you. I'm a manifestor and I totally resonate with the freedom thing, or I'm a projector and I do not want to be of service. You're out of your mind. I'd love to know either way. Thank you so much for listening to this show. If you love it, please subscribe to the show. Leave us a review that helps us get more people onto the show. Share it with a friend. Share it on your Instagram stories and tag me. Just please help us get the word out about the show and help us grow it. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And remember, in order to have an unshakable business, you must first become an unshakable human. So thank you for letting us help you on your journey of becoming unshakable with human design, everyone. We will see you next time. If you love this episode and you're a fan of the show, please show us the love on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the show and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with other entrepreneurs on their human design journey, join our free Facebook community, Human Design for Entrepreneurs. Go to nicolelano.me/podcast links to join the group, book a human design reading with me, or access our free human design resources. We'll see you there.